First of all, you hear the official number that inflation's gone up 3%. I I call BS on that because it's so much higher, even from what I've seen in front of my own eyes. But it's not just grocery prices. That's what I'm going to say about this. That's what most people think of, or that's how they gauge inflation. But what else is going on? There's all sorts of dark realities. So, for example, you used to eat steak at a restaurant with your family. Now you eat hamburger meat at home. And the government can say, well, you still ate. I feel like the administration's out of touch with the regular people when it comes to inflation, especially. Tell me in the comments below if you agree with that. Is the government out of touch with inflation and what you're dealing with in your life? And I always talk about a phantom inflation where you get the same size box and it's half empty now, or it's got only 8 granola bars instead of 10, etc. Even the ingredients that they use to make the product, they'll use cheaper stuff. Even the packaging and wrapping can be cheaper. You're saving money that way and you're not noticing it as a sticker shock, but it's happening. And there's a lot of conflation going on that, for example, the Thanksgiving meal that you heard about where the prices were coming down and they're touting that the price of the Thanksgiving meal at wherever it was is coming down. But they're conflating that as the Thanksgiving meal is the same thing as the Thanksgiving meal, but it's not because they got rid of a bunch of stuff and now there's a lot less. And so the price came down a little bit, but the amount of stuff you got, the value of it came down a lot. So they can say, look, prices are coming down and you're getting less and no one's feeling the sticker shock again. And inflation expectations are a big driver for inflation. And I haven't really talked to anybody in a while who expects inflation to go lower. And then they say, well, look, you can still just live cheaper. Just get 2 pencils and $2 for your kid. You could have a tortilla and a little piece of meat and a piece of broccoli and one other thing, and it's only going to cost you $3 as long as that other thing doesn't blow out the bankroll or the expectation. It's got to be worth only 50 cents or whatever. Can the other thing be like a meal or like a roast chicken or something? And I heard a good analogy the other day, and I know you guys, a lot of you watch the same videos I do when I'm doing my research, and I see a lot of stuff, so I don't remember who said what, and I don't want to act like this was my comment, but if you know, if you saw the same video, please put in the comments below about who this should be accredited to. But he was talking the other day about your grandfather could have bought a house for $4,500. Got past your father, it's worth $45,000. It gets passed to you, now it's worth $450,000. But it really hasn't increased in value or price in the sense that when your grandfather bought it, the value of the $4,500 is equivalent to the $450,000 now. It's the same thing with a lot of the stocks going up lately and just the creation of money pushing everything higher. That's an example of it where, yeah, house prices can keep on going. Just like in Venezuela, when they had the hyperinflation, stock market was the best performing stock market in the world. House prices were going crazy, but you couldn't really do anything with the money because it was foam on a beer. It was imaginary. People look at nominal numbers and you say, that was worth 1,000. Now it's worth 2,000. But the dollars you're using to value it are worth half as much. And nobody wants to pay attention to all this stuff, but this is what's going on beneath the surface. There's so many ways in which inflation is worse than the thing you hear about when they're looking on the news and talking about how cheese prices went up. But what's not as clear is the inflation in services, because that kind of hides beneath the surface. Usually it's a business buying a service from another company for many thousands of dollars. And not only are those service prices increasing, but then you look at things like a deterioration of the quality of life or your standard of living, because something like Social Security will give you less payouts, fewer services, and they'll ask for greater amounts in the contributions. And hey, I put some clips from a Susan Paine interview, and I'll put you a link to the whole video that I strongly suggest you watch end to end at the end of this video.
Looking at things from the tactical, operational, and strategic level. Strategically, taking over Greenland will do the following things. It will blow NATO, the American participation in NATO. It will make every country with a U.S. military base reconsider and figure out how to get the U.S. the hell out of their countries as soon as possible. In addition to what we've done in Venezuela, it will unify countries across the third world to minimize the U.S. presence. Fourthly, it will incentivize people across the globe to boycott American products. And that doesn't require any government action whatsoever. That is consumers buying stuff. That is the minimum of what will happen. That is beyond stupid.
And the big news is all about this Board of Peace Council that's being set up. And I want to just read to you who's on it and who's not on it. You've got nations like Bahrain, Morocco, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bulgaria, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Uzbekistan, Mongolia. And the nations which are notably absent are nations like Germany, France, Canada, Italy, EU nations. But who's on the board of the Peace Council? Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff. And gold prices and silver prices are going nuts again. Gold's about to hit 5,000 an ounce, and silver's about to break through the $100 barrier. Gold's at 4,947. Silver at $98.68. And ever since I was on the streets on the Lower East Side talking about this, and all of this means we're going to go right into what I've been telling you about for ages now. We are going to have a tsunami of defaults, delinquencies, bankruptcies. And when silver does hit $100 an ounce, I want to make a comment. Because when silver prices were about $40 and I said it's going to 100, and the guy who's in the industry of the silver industry freaked out and is going after me saying that's not how silver works and all that. And I said it's based on the deterioration of the currency. And so here we are now. And now my point of telling you all that is that this individual tried to keep the world the way that he knew it, instead of opening his eyes to see maybe there's an opportunity here. Because if he had listened to me, he could have made more money in that time than he made in his entire life at this point. But rather, he needed to put me down because he didn't agree with what I was saying. And remember what I tell you, silver breaks 100, gold breaks 5,000. It doesn't technically really matter. What matters is that gold's gone up this much this quickly, silver's gone up this much this quickly, and the reasons it's going up are not waning. So that's why you're going to see the move continue. And what did I always say consistently from years ago? And to my own daughter, I say this all the time. You haven't seen anything yet. It's just getting started. And people like the analogy of what inning we're in, and we're in the third inning or whatever. You can't think of it that way. Think of it as this. How long will politicians and bureaucrats make decisions about whether or not to create more money to pay for things? When that is no longer the case, maybe precious metals prices will slow down. But they're just going to continually devalue the currency, and it's going to be getting even stronger, maybe coming up soon this summer if they do an official dollar devaluation, which if they don't do it this summer, they will have to eventually do it. And another event that's going to go on to our event horizon is that we just passed the Supreme Court ruling date on the tariffs that they've put it off for another month. So now you're looking at February 20th. The Supreme Court's going to rule on whether or not the tariffs have to be reversed or not. The decision against Trump could open the way for more than $130 billion in refunds for American businesses. The reason they'd have to get refunded is because the companies paid the tariffs. So there you have it. People were arguing about this, that money's being created, and now you can see clearly that it's obviously not if it has to get refunded to the companies it was taken from. And the official numbers came out. It's about 95% of how much of the tariffs are paid by American companies and citizens. And on screen right now is a tariff summary, just to help you keep it all straight if you're having a hard time, because I know I am. The worst thing for a stock market's uncertainty, and there couldn't be more uncertainty with all these tariffs. And the thing is that even the person imposing the tariffs, I don't think he's operating that well mentally. And a lot of the questions lately have been about when should we take profits? When should we cash out? Because the stocks have been doing so well that maybe you cash out now, you made a good profit. Maybe they drop back a bit, you buy back in. That's what people are doing. That's how they're thinking, which is absolutely going to cost you. Just don't do anything. And I keep telling you that. I've been telling you this for months. And I've told you for months. You haven't seen anything yet. So if you're not listening to me, then you have to decide something, I guess. But if you're listening to me, you don't have to decide anything. And it's not personalized investment advice. I'm not telling you what to do. You have to figure it out for yourself. I'm wrong plenty of the time. Don't forget to tell me if you feel that the government is out of touch with inflation and how it affects you.